Hello and welcome to the Bad Bookers Wrestling Podcast. My name is Matt, and today we're going to do a review of NXT from last night. As you can see, I'm in my car. It's my lunchtime at work. I've taken a leaf out of Jack's book and I'm just doing this whenever I get a chance. And it just so happens that I'm lucky enough that you can actually see my face this week. I know the lighting and everything was terrible last week. Sorry about that. I'll sort it for future. Again, I'm going from notes because it was last night. But yeah, this is a review of the Boxing Day edition of NXT. So it kicked off with a fatal four-way for the women's #1 contender spot between Io Shirai, Lacey Evans, Mia Yim and Bianca Belair. It was a really good fatal four-way, I think. I think it was probably a little bit too short. I think it was only about 15 minutes long. Probably could have done with being maybe 20-25 minutes because there was a lot to kind of get into this match. You had the two Japanese girls, Shirai and Yim, teaming up early before you had about a 6 or 7 minute bit where Lacey Evans was kind of on top of everybody. I'm guessing that's because she's going main roster and she needed to look strong, especially after she eventually ate the pin. The other big thing I remember from this match was Io Shirai did a suicide dive where Lacey Evans threw as hard as she could out, and Io Shirai was supposed to do a suicide dive onto Bianca Belair. Pretty much went straight over Belair's head, landed on her neck and shoulder. I thought she was going to be wrecked, but she managed to get back up and get into the match. I haven't heard it whether she's injured or not, but it wouldn't surprise me if she has at least a small injury from that. It was either she overshot it or Bianca Belair was stood in the wrong spot, I would guess, because like I say, she went straight over her head. Belair kind of like caught her waist as it went over her head and she just kind of fell backwards, and as she did, she basically just drove her head and shoulders into the ramp. It looked pretty bad, but is what it is. A few other... It was just a good fatal four-way match. There was spots with all of them in the ring, spots with each of them facing off with each other. It was all, a pretty good version of a fatal four-way match. Basically, it ended when Bianca Belair did her KOD, I think they called it. I don't know what it is. Basically, it's an F5, but the wrestler's on the shoulders instead of being face down, is face up. It's basically like a torture rack into an F5. I think they call it a KOD. I'm not really sure. But yeah, so Bianca Belair won with that on Lacey Evans after breaking up a pin attempt. I think it was Shirai was pinning Lacey Evans, and Bianca Belair came in and started whipping people with her hair. Now, she hasn't done that in a while. I know it's something that annoys Smoothman from the podcast. I'm not a big fan of her using her hair as a weapon. It just kind of doesn't sit right with me for whatever reason, I'm not sure. But yeah, Bianca Belair wins. She gets a title shot at the TakeOver, I think, is it Philadelphia or Phoenix? I think it might be TakeOver Phoenix. It's Royal Rumble weekend anyway, and we're getting a TakeOver match. A women's match between Bianca Belair and Shayna Baszler, which should be a good match. I'm looking forward to it. I thought it was going to be Io Shirai or Mia Yim, probably Io Shirai, because she would therefore get to keep the Shayna Baszler 4 horsewomen of MMA versus Kairi Sane, Io Shirai and Dakota Kai kind of storyline. But I'm guessing maybe Shirai and Dakota Kai will face the other two from the 4 horsewomen, who I can't remember the names off the top of my head. Or will stand in the corner at TakeOver. I'm not sure yet. We'll wait and find out. So yeah, that was it. Then we had that match was followed up by Mitch Taverna, who I've never heard of, versus Jaxson Ryker from the Forgotten Sons. Now, this was really weird. There was no commentary on this match at all. It was absolutely silent. It was just a squash match. Jaxson Ryker, 3 or 4 moves and squashed this Mitch Taverna fellow, who I guess is a jobber. But there was no commentary all the way through the match. There was no commentary when they were doing the replays after the match. And it just went into promos. It was just a really bizarre thing, but yeah, it is what it is. We then got a Velveteen Dream promo, which was just the man is fire. He's just he certainly knows what he's doing talking on the mic. He's great in ring as well. I'm not too sure how when he finally gets called up to the main roster, how he'll do. I don't know whether his gimmick will work on the main roster, but certainly in NXT, he's just amazing. They need to be pushing him a little bit more, I think. I know he's only 23, but he needs to now have a couple of wins behind him before they start, and then before they can even think about either moving him to the main roster or giving him a title, because I don't think he's won on a takeover this year. I think he's had 4 or 5 takeover matches and not won a single one, as far as I'm aware, which is, not the best. He doesn't seem to be winning his feuds at the moment, but the man is going to be over no matter what, so I guess that's why he's not winning them. Following that, the commentary came back. They then did a review of the cage match from last week. I mean, all I've got to say is I hope DIY are getting back together, because it's just fire. The storytelling's brilliant. And then Ciampa did a promo. He basically just says he always delivers on his promises, not everybody else does. And then he says he doesn't think that Gargano should go for his title. He thinks Gargano should get a title shot. He doesn't think it should be his title because he's the only person suitable for his title, but he thinks Gargano should get a North American title shot. I really want to see it. I have called DIY getting back together as a heel faction or as a heel tag team, but actually them working together, Ciampa having the NXT title, Gargano having the North American title, both of them working together to get the tag titles as well. If they swept up the whole thing and then had a proper feud with Undisputed Era, I'd just stop watching anything else, because there wouldn't be any point in watching anything else, because that would just be the perfect everything. Just Undisputed Era are gold. Gargano and Ciampa, it doesn't matter whether they were facing each other, it doesn't matter whether they're a tag team, it doesn't matter whether they're hating each other but still working together. They're just, their in-ring chemistry is perfect. Them together, Undisputed Era together, just those 6 men going for all the gold for a 3-month storyline between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. You pay it off at WrestleMania, the takeover at WrestleMania, either with Ciampa and Gargano winning the tag belts, or you have forced them into fighting for their titles at the same time. Say they've got to do a tag match to open it, they've then got 2 matches to rest, and then the North American belt final is 4th on the card, Ciampa's belt is 5th, the NXT title's 5th on the card, and make them fight for the tag titles and their own titles in the same takeover. I know you're taking payment away from people who could fill the other matches. I want to see it. I just want to see them and Undisputed Era go at it. That's my suggestion. I don't think it'll be what happened, but there you go. We then had the title match between Undisputed Era and Heavy Machinery. Heavy Machinery were made to look strong for the first part, and then also when Undisputed Era managed to get on top for after the first sort of 10-15 minutes or so, they managed to keep Tucker Knight they cut him off totally from Dozovic. They had him outside the ring for a while, and then even in the ring they were just doing the standard tag team thing of making sure that Dozovic can't get in the ring. He eventually did, but it was a fairly good tag match. I think it was just to try and give Heavy Machinery the last big look to make them look strong as they go on to the main roster. Eventually, I can't even remember who pinned who, or even how the finish was. I don't even remember whether Adam Cole and Bobby Fish came down to the ring. That's how little I was invested in this. The Ciampa Gargano thing just had my mind racing, and I was watching but not really paying attention to the main event, because I can't wait for what to see what they do with Ciampa versus Gargano. But yeah, Undisputed Era retained, and that, I mean, we all knew that was happening with Heavy Machinery going main roster. And it'll just be interesting to see now what happens with Heavy Machinery, whether they get used well. I think they've confirmed that they're going to SmackDown on Twitter, but nobody, like, I don't think it's official from WWE, but I think them and Lars Sullivan are going to SmackDown, which would mean the other three call-ups, or is it them and Lacey Evans? I think it's them and Lacey Evans are going to SmackDown, and we've not heard about Sullivan, Cross, or the other one that's been called up that my mind has just totally gone blank. But yeah. Oh, and no, it's not. Oh, yeah, I suppose it was. It's only 5 that's been called up, isn't it? So yeah, we'll wait and see anyway. What happens? Like I say, it was a fairly good NXT. I'd have preferred them not to have the match with no commentary. I don't know whether that was an error or what was going on there. They could have scrapped that match, had an extra 10-15 minutes in the first match, and this would have been a perfect. I mean, they only really needed the NXT Women's #1 Contender match and the title match, plus the promos in the middle. I think they wasted time on this Mitch Taverna Jaxson Ryker match, which was pretty pointless. But all in all, it was a good NXT. Fairly positive. I'm looking forward to it going into the new year. There's a lot of things they can do. They've opened up so much. Like, the one issue, if they do the Gargano going for the North American title, it kind of means that the finishing shots from NXT War Games, where you had Ricochet and Pete Dunne kind of sat on top of the cage, or whatever you call the War Games arena thingy, sat on top of there facing each other. Like, everybody's looking forward to that feud. I don't think you can get Gargano in before Mania if you're having that feud, because I think that's going to have to go. They're going to have to do something on an NXT weekly show, have that at the Royal Rumble then, and I don't think they'll pay it off in one go. I think that's the kind of feud that could last a while, but we'll wait and see. I've probably talked far too long already, but like I say, I'm passionate about NXT. It's the one part of the WWE that, with the exception of a couple of weeks after the most recent takeover, I've not had much issues with it this year at all, whereas the rest of the WWE has been meh this year. I suppose I'll do a review of the year as well, which is just NXT is the #1 product of WWE, and anybody who disagrees, good luck arguing me around, because I can't see anything else other than NXT at the moment. 205 Live doesn't have the support. I've never watched an episode. I watched the last 15 minutes of last night's one, and it was a rerun of the Survivor Series title match, which just seems pointless to me. I might start watching 205. Jack swears by it. He says it's the best wrestler in the company. There's no motivation to go and watch it. I don't hear anybody saying the storylines keep you interested. So it has to be NXT. Raw and SmackDown have been turd this year. Raw's been terrible. SmackDown's turned it around later on, but still have lots of issues with the way SmackDown's been over 2018. So let's hope 2019 is a bit more positive. Anyway, that's the end of this. I've been Matt, and this has been our NXT review for the 26th of December. Hope you all had a great Christmas. Happy New Year to everybody, and I'll see you again in a week. Bye.